Hello again, rail fans, and welcome back to our frequented Central Florida rails. This warm Monday morning, we're headed southbound on I-75. The goal this morning was to catch a K423 coming southbound to Tampa with ethanol loads, so it was off to 78th Street in Tampa to try to intercept. By the time we made it to the north end of Yeoman Yard, 423 was already past Wildwood, so expecting about an hour wait, we settled down. But in a matter of minutes, a headlight appears and the morning quiet of West Tampa is shattered by my favorite horn. This is CSX train K317, phosphate loads destined for Rockport, with some of the best CSX power there is. CSX 147 is an AC-44CW built by GE in the early 90s, and here, 30 years later, it still has its original horn. Like I said, this is my favorite horn on the CSX roster. It's a Nathan K5LA, but slightly fouled. With those minor changes, the horn blows a pleasant E-flat major 6 chord with a high E-flat on top. These are the horns of 30 years ago that will still bring joy to any train buff. K317 is a loaded finished phosphate train made up of these custom CSX flip-top hopper cars. You can only see these cars in Central Florida transporting finished diammonium phosphate to Rockport's transloading dock on the port of Tampa Bay. After each car has been unloaded, ships waiting feet away will take this rich commodity around the world. We had gotten word that K423 had been stopped at nights because of engine troubles. Night siding is only a few miles north of Plant City siding, and according to the crew, their lead locomotive, which was a Kansas City Southern Gevo, had run out of fuel and broken down, and the Ferromex EMD that was the end train DPU had begun to die in Wildwood. The train was now stuck powerless on the main line. The dispatcher decided to get the engine of 0709 to pull the lead locomotive of 423 into Plant City siding so that he could get a mechanic and a field truck to the KCS Gevo. After about 3 hours, the engine had been refueled and ready to go, but K423's crew had run out of their 12-hour shift. After another 2 hours, a crew came to take the train finally to Tampa, but first they'd have to reassemble the consist. K423 then took on the symbol of 0460, an ID used to symbolize a relief crew was on the job. First, they backed the KCS onto the train and couple up. They had to pull the whole train back to Tampa just with this one engine, so they completely shut down the Ferromex Ace, as it was long ago dead. We had gone home to finish up schoolwork and chores, but we were back out again in the evening, as K423 had been delayed over 9 hours. Also in nights was a cut of phosphate hopper cars, which also had to be moved, so we raced for Plant City to catch these rare movements. The dispatcher told 0460 that the hopper cars would be moved first, so 2 engines from Winston Yard would come and pick up the cut. Even though the 2 locomotives were ready to take the train to Lakeland in a few minutes, the dispatcher first held them up for a couple trains through the Diamond. First up is Tampa to Jack's Ramp Intermodal Q046 with the Spirit of West Virginia on point. We're set up at an underrated spot here in Plant City. In between Reynolds and Baker Street, there's a track greaser right where the connection track breaks off from the Plant City sub and connects with the A line. The S-line signals are lit with an approach aspect and then improve as the Tampa to Waycross manifest draws closer. He'll be diverging into the Plant City siding shortly, and to pass over the crossovers at South End PC, 442 will have to throttle down. The high-pitched clinging sound is the flange greaser slowly dispersing greaser lubricant onto the inside of the rails. When the flanges of the car's wheels scrape the inside of the rails, they pick up the grease, making curves easier and quieter to navigate. We also said up here, as sooner than later, these two crossings will unfortunately become quiet zones, as many others on the S-Line here in Plant City will be, so it was nice to hear horns on the S-Line at least one more time. We move up to the north end of the S to A line connection, which is about 300 feet east of the diamond. My friend Dakota was in Knights and told us that 0725, the train of phosphate hoppers, was already making his way to Winston. You can't see it, but the A-line signals went green and the connection switches moved into place. Another one of my favorite AC 44 motors on the head end. O725 is an abnormal symbol for an abnormal train. It's still unclear whether these cars were destined for the Bone Valley or for up north, but wherever they're going, they have been sitting in Knights for weeks now, blocking out the siding for any train meets. In about the last year and a half, CSX has been forced to use Plant City siding to meet trains, as they've been using Knights for more like a storage track than anything. These phosphate hopper trains are personally some of the coolest trains that run here in Florida. Names like the L&N, Family Lines, and even Seaboard Coastline bleed through the weathered paint on these cars. On CSX, these are some of the few chances to see predecessor railroads equipment on modern-day trains.
Oh, this is like the perfect riding. I hope this train comes now.
Yeah, that's right. Nobody talked to head into track 5 of them. Track 5. Nobody talked.
That was just the dispatcher talking to the Winston Yardmaster about a train needing to arrive in track 5. Before we knew it, the A-line signals lit up again, this time with an advanced approach. Our train is getting this aspect as 2 signal blocks away, 0725 is still entering Winston. But in minutes, the signals went green and here came 0704, a rock local from Conrad Yelvington's distribution center off the Navy Spur in Temple Terrace, heading for another load from Winston. Only minutes after 704 cleared the diamond, the dispatcher let loose our train of the night, 0460. Note that this is a loaded train of ethanol tanks being pulled by one engine, as the DPU had been shut down. By far one of the coolest sights to see a KCS Jivo working as hard as it can to get this train the last leg of its long, delayed journey to Tampa.
460, 12, KCS 4699, clear, place and airlock, southbound out.
Only a few hours ago, this train was K42309, loaded ethanol tanks from Bensonville, Illinois, to be mixed with gasoline in the port of Tampa. We've mostly seen foreign power on these trains, but it's really been years since a consist like this slammed the infamous diamond in the last lights of day. This was one heck of a night in Plant City, a parade of 5 trains in just under 2 hours. But wherever we happen to be next time, thanks for coming along. This is Christian from Multicolor Films. End of transmission.